Hello, welcome to Two Controls, One Sofa. We're going to go over the Rovers team here in terms of ratings and squad depth in certain areas. I am a Rovers fan. Um, some of you may not know. If you'd like to see this Rovers career continue, comment below. And comment below as well what your thoughts on the ratings are. Too high, too low on some players. Yeah, let's have a conversation. So let's get into this. I'm doing it this way because I think it helps. It gives you a better overview of certain areas and positions. So let's start off. First of all is Mr. Danny Graham, 68 overall. Maybe the little bit surprise is Ben Bretherton, who is the best striker we have on the team. And then you look at Samuel at 67. Me personally, I'd say either Graham should have a higher rating and Samuel stay there, or maybe even Samuel lower. But yeah, that's what FIFA have done. But Graham's, I'd say that's a fair rating for Graham. But and then you look at Samuel and Bretherton. It kind of seems unfair because I think Graham is our best striker. But huge promise for Bretherton, and that's what we paid the money for, not instant goals. So people have to remember that. Cadlin is a young player we signed from Walsall, and something I'm going to have a look at the end of this is how FIFA have worked out the whole loan to buy thing. So we'll have a look at that at the end and try and figure it out. And then Joe Nuttall, 62, not promising. So put a bit of training into him. He will increase, and you probably be able to get him up to Samuel's sort of level fairly quickly, and get him challenging for a spot. But we'll move on to the wingers. Slightly sparse out wide, but there are a couple of midfielders that can step into this sort of area that we'll look at in a minute. But Elliot Bennett is 70 overall, which is our best player that we've seen in the first two categories, which is fair enough. He's a 110% sort of guy. He's not the most skilled or talented, but his work ethic and work rate easily warrants that, maybe even a bit more. I'm not saying Benno's a bad player in any way, but he's not. He got different skill sets to a Dak or an Armstrong, but still warrants that. Armstrong, probably a fair rating, but he is someone that his rating's going to probably rocket fairly fast, especially with the promised player icon next to him. Conway, obviously, you would expect his rating to start falling a little bit, but I imagine, if I'm honest, most people, definitely me, will not have Conway on the team past the first year. And then you look at ranking Costello, a youth player, 55, 18. Again, put some training in there, and you'd be able to get his rating up fairly decent. He's not a promising player, but you can improve him if you wanted to spend the time. Something I didn't mention on the striker bit is I would have liked to see Butterworth in here. I think fairly sure he was on 18, so I imagine he will get into this game at some point with cup games. I thought it was very impressive when we played the last cup game, and it has completely slipped my mind who we played. But whoever it was, he played fairly impressively. And then we're going to move on to the midfielders now, so please take a seat, because you may well be gobsmacked, because I was. So as you can see, the first two sections, they're fairly small. Knowing we bought a few midfielders, I moved on to this section and was still shocked at the increased amount of players in this area. yeah, you've got Smallwood 68, Evans 69, Reed 69, Rodwell 68. Rodwell, from what I've been led to believe, possibly going to be more of a central defensive cover player. Some people have mentioned a replacement for Charlie Mulgrew in the future, but who knows? And then you look at Rothwell, who I thought 63 was fairly unfair on him from what we've seen so far. I thought he's quite an exciting player. Could have been a few steps higher. The man who will never be seen again, I imagine, at Ewood or at anywhere in a Rovers shirt is Mr. Ben Gladwin. I imagine most people will sell him fairly quickly and or kick him to the curb. Personally, I will be. And then you look at Bradley Dack, who I don't think I've mentioned. He's quite a good player. I think before we move on, I've had a quick look over this a couple of times. I think he's our best player, 73, which is shocking. Shocking! How is he our best player? Yep, Palmer, 70. Obviously only on loan, but real talent. Travis, 58. I would have pushed him up to the 60s personally. Maybe a little bit biased, but I think he played really well for us when he has played. You look at a Jacob Davenport who's been injured and we haven't seen. Obviously, FIFA or whoever does this know him from his time at City and the teams he's been on loan at. William Tomlinson, 55. He's 20 years old. I mean, to be fair, maybe it's time he left the club, both on FIFA and in real life. We do have a couple of loanees that we're going to have a look at after this. So onto the centre-backs. And this was a shock. I knew we didn't have many centre-backs, but this still shocked me when I moved into the centre-back area and saw three people. Like I said, Rodwell may be the cover in here. And then you got Williams, who can play Nyambi, can play a centre-back. But 68 is Darragh Lenihan. I thought that was kind of unfair. I think he's better than one plus over Downing, who's 67. Personally, I'd argue that maybe he should have a better rating than Mulgrew, if not the same. But yeah, Mulgrew 72. Obviously, that is more than likely going to decrease. Lenihan, promising player, so that rating will probably get up fairly fast. Onto the fullbacks. Ryan Nyambi, massive fan. Fairly sure he should have a better rating, but if past FIFAs or anything to go by, that rating will shoot up rapidly. And as you can see, he's got a promising player. Left back, Amari Bell, 66. Not totally sure what to think of that, but with Derek Williams at 69, I think that's a fairly decent rating, and can step in at centre back, as I said. And Jack Doyle, 57. Can't see much of a future for him. I think he's someone that I would let go fairly quickly. On to the goalkeepers is David Raya at 69. I'd be putting him at about 80 with some of the saves he's made for us this season. Lutweiler 66. Probably a fair rating. And then you've got Andy Fisher at 55. I mean, it's fairly low, really, but yeah. So let's have a quick look at the players on loan, out on loan first, and just to check the rating out, really. So we've got Marty Platts, who's the centre back, 57 overall, and 20 years old. Scott Wharton, 64, and 20 years old. To say, I mean, I didn't look at this before, but if you think you've got Scott Wharton, 64, and then you've got Ryan Nyambi, 65, to say there's one overall between them is slightly weird. And he's only 3 behind Paul Downing. I would personally, I'd like to give Scott Wharton a go. personally in real life as well as on FIFA. Sam Hart, 58, he's 21 years old, I think. His time in a Rovers shirt, well, his time as a Rovers player is limited. We do have, I think, one more. Yep, Lewis Hardcastle is 55, not years old. 55 overall and 19 years old. I mean, for me, he has a place over Willem Tomlinson, but I can't see either getting into the team, even if he put time in training them. So, right, let's have a quick look at this whole loan to buy and how FIFA have worked it out. So, 6-month contract. So they all... Right, so is this a 6-month loan, or have they got 6 months left on their contract and they will go back to Forest after 6 months, or they will be out of contract after 6 months? They just say contract accepted, but I can't terminate the loan. I can terminate the loan, but I can't do anything else. Yeah, if you know how FIFA have worked this out, whether we're going to get screwed over in January and end up without either of them. Just having a quick look around the possible places that these things are going to be in. Not really seeing anything right now. So yeah, if you know how FIFA have worked this out, are we going to get screwed over in January and lose both of them? Not Cadlin too much, but mainly Brotherton. Is he going to be going back to Forest? Will he be a free agent? What? I'm not quite sure how FIFA have worked this out, but it'd be good to know. And yeah, like I said at the beginning of this video, if you want to see this career mode progress, comment below, and yeah, I'll do it. Well, thank you very much for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it. And what are your thoughts on the ratings? I think they're pretty decent. There's a couple that maybe a little bit higher than what I expected, but in the main, I think there's a couple that should be higher, like Nyambe, Graham. In comparison with Samuel, one of them should be up or down. Lenny Han, I think, should be better. But yeah, there's a few. But then you look at the likes of Benno, Dak, Palmer, Mulgrew, who's fairly high. I think we've got a good team. Yeah. So let's get this career mode started.